Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Raw Dog Monday here on the We Book It Podcast Network. I am your host for tonight, Coach, and I am joined, as always, by the man, the myth, the legend that is Big Daddy C.
Yo, what's up? What's up, Coach?
Nothing much. Just got back into Springfield for the week and ready for some Christmas time. Also, shout out to the man Virgil producing the show tonight, giving C the night off from producing.
Yeah, my internet is down for a short time, but I should be back rolling either Wednesday or Thursday. So, yep.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. And, you know, double tapings are always tough for WWE. I get it. Um, but there are some times where they really blow you away with, like, okay, yeah, that was, for a double taping, not bad. This was not one of those episodes. Besides this first segment that we're about to open up with, not a whole lot of good came out of tonight's Monday Night Raw. So let's go ahead and let's jump right in. Drew McIntyre came into the ring to kick off the show. Basically talked about why he was targeting the Bloodline, how they made him feel isolated, especially when he had gotten hurt, and talked about how only one wrestler reached out to him to ask how he was doing. Um, this McIntyre has done some really great mic work in his career, and I think this one was probably the best of out of any of them. He really described that motivation perfectly that heels don't really do nowadays, and it makes perfect sense, and it makes you get his side of the story, which again in Triple H's WWE you understand where the heels have that righteous feeling with what they're doing, and that's exactly how he felt with everything going on in his life. Talked about how CM Punk and Roman Reigns are the true villains of WWE. That then got Sami Zayn to come on out, to which Sami Zayn kind of gave his usual promo about how stop feeling sorry for yourself, think about people who do other stuff and everything. It was a typical Zayn promo, but it worked. And eventually, McIntyre threatened Zayn and said, "You're the least of my problems, but if you want a match tonight, you got it." Zayn agreed. They then brawled for a little bit, and then segment ended. That sets up the main event for tonight. C, your thoughts on that segment?
As always, Drew gonna cook whenever he's on the mic, man. So it's just like whenever he talks, you gotta listen, man. It's gonna be some good content that comes out of the promo all the time. And so when you throw Sammy into the mix, considering how personal things are between him and Drew now, it just makes for great TV. So you know, crash out season as always. When it comes to Drew and Sammy. So um, looks like we heading towards another match between these two.
Yes, sir. And I think I'm obligated to say Virgil is the best producer in the game with this on the Titantron. So I feel like that's probably one of the sponsor things I have to do now. Um, so we move on to our first match of the night, and that is the Women's Intercontinental Tournament first round matchup. It's a triple threat. It was originally, damn right he is. Yes, as we said, yes, that is sponsored Titantron right there. This was originally supposed to be Kairi Sane versus Natalya versus Alba Fire. Now, Natalya and Alba Fire were still in the match, but Kairi Sane is hurt. So that leaves an open spot for somebody. Before the match started, Pure Fusion Collective tried to get Sonya Deville in the tournament in Kairi Sane's place, but Adam Pearce refused to do it because they were the ones who injured Zayn and instead put Io Sky in the tournament, to which she did her usual stuff, balled out, and beat both Natalia and Alba Fire to move on to the IC semifinals for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And she will be facing off against Lyra Valkyrie. And that is going to be a great match next week. As for the match in this episode of Monday Night Raw, I mean, it was pretty solid. It had your typical moments. Alba Fire with her heel moves to get the upper hand. Natalia paying homage to Bret Hart and everything, trying to get the crowd fired up. But Io was the real star, and she showed that by hitting all of her finishing moves. And like I said, she is moving on to work with Lyra Valkyrie, and it is going to be one heck of a matchup between those two. I would not be surprised, though, if we were looking at a Dakota Kai Io Sky IC championship final match on the Netflix premiere to kind of break up Damage Control. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but we'll see what happens next week. See your thoughts on this match?
Honestly, I'm just glad that Natalia did not win. Sick of seeing her on my television, man. She just needs to go away. Happy for EO winning. I do agree with you. I do see her versus what's the girl name?
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai, yeah. I see them two going at it in the finals for the championship. That should be a good match. Finally bringing into the Damage Control, which is something I've wanted for quite some time now. And so, no disrespect to them, I just think the group was trash from the start. And so, yeah, bring on the championship. I'll probably roll with Lyra to win that. Looks like they're still high on her. And so I feel like Io. Oh yeah, that's right. So is it Dakota versus Lyra, or is it Io versus Lyra?
No, it's Io versus Lyra.
In the semifinals.
Yes.
Okay. So
and the other one's Zoe Stark versus Dakota Kai.
Oh yeah, Zoe Stark. Okay. All right. Actually, you know what? Either it'd be Dakota Kai versus Io, or I can see Lyra went advancing to go against Zoe Stark. One of the two. Like I think it could be either of those two. So many possibilities on where they can go with the championship match. But yeah, I think this either of those two options for me.
Yeah, it's a good position to be in for WWE because both of them are realistic booking options that you could go with. So I think they put themselves in a good spot with these two semifinal matchups. Moving on to our next matchup, and it is Chad Gable versus Akira Tozawa, and this was basically just a squash match.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was bad. Tozawa tapped out to the ankle lock, to which Chad Gable didn't let go after the bell, getting some heat. Otis then jumped into the ring to stare down Gable, but nothing happened. And after all of this, finally, we will get Chad Gable versus Otis next week on Monday Night Raw, but I'm afraid that the momentum has passed from when this first started. And it's a shame because, I was holding out hope for it. With this match, maybe they could regain that momentum. It did not. And it just, it's unfortunate. They should have struck while it was hot. Otis got a good reaction, though, from the crowd, but it wasn't as big as it was when they were teasing that early breakup with Alpha Academy. See your thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly think it should have been like I don't even know why they went back to this, honestly, because this should have been over, man. The moment they brought in the YS6, it was over. So I don't know why they're revisiting this. I'm like, yeah, yeah, that just yeah. I have no other thoughts outside of that.
Yeah, so then we move on to our first backstage segment, which is Liv Morgan and Finn Balor really arguing about the Judgment Day and kind of questioning each other's motives. Like, is Liv actually here to help Finn? Liv questioning Finn, are you actually here to help everyone else? Or are you too focused on Damian Priest? Back and forth they went, to which Dominic Mysterio finally said, hey, I'll deal with Priest, and sets up an impromptu match with Damian Priest. But beforehand, before he walks out to the ring, they did one of those nice, really walk-in shots that everyone really likes about the new WWE production era. And he runs into the New Day, to which the New Day are kind of like, hey, this guy will understand. And they asked Dom, like, hey, did we go, like, why do people hate us and everything for what we did? And uh, Dominic Mysterio goes, you know, I didn't like Big E either, but what you guys did, that was crazy. And just walks away, leaving the New Day dumbfounded by that response. We
Coming
then
from
go
a
to the
man that
ring.
turned on his father.
Yeah, exactly. We then go to the ring, and this is, I mean, this match, this this made the Judgment Day look probably the weakest it ever has been, and that's saying something because I think they look weak a lot. And this, like, Damian Priest took them out, took all four of them out almost all by himself until they finally got the upper hand, and then the War Raiders came down to help out as well. But this was, yeah, this was bad. This was a bad match. Um, one thing that happened after the match backstage, War Raiders and Damian Priest agreed to form an alliance, which probably means next week we're going to get a 6-man tag team match at some point on Monday Night Raw. But oh man, this was a low for the Judgment Day storyline. I really think, and you know how I feel about the Judgment Day C, but this is saying something when this is pretty low. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's time, man. It's time to blow it up, detonate like that. Like, it, man, it's just like a lot of things right now that they've run their course, and Judgment Day has far run their course, man. I think once you took Rhea and Damian Priest out of it, it's just like, all right, you took the heart and soul of you took the main two leaders away from the group for Finn Balor and Liv.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, I love Liv. Don't get me wrong. Like, in terms of leading a group, nah. And Finn, like I feel like things worked a lot better when he had um um Gallows and um what's the other guy named Gallows and
Oh, Anderson.
yeah, Anderson, yeah. Um it worked a lot better with when he was rolling with those two guys, and
Mm-hmm.
so because you had that whole Bullet Club, thing going on, that relationship with those three. And so
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think yeah, it's time to go ahead and blow this thing up with the Judgment Day. It's done. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, we then go into a sit-down interview with Seth Rollins and Jackie Redmond, to which Seth Rollins promised a fight when he got his hands on CM Punk at the Raw on Netflix premiere. They then ran a quick video package of the press conference that they did for the Netflix premiere. Nothing much came out of that, honestly. This one was interesting though, because of there was kind of some downtime in between the interview, and I'm assuming they were cleaning, they were getting something set up for the next match. We get a Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett are talking about the New Day, kind of just filling some time, to which they are interrupted by the New Day backstage. They work their way into the ring to, of course, a chorus of boos, and they are trying to figure out, like, they're trying to explain their actions and everything, and nobody would give them a chance. And it got to a point to where even Kofi Kingston's mother was at ringside, and Kofi went to go give her a hug, and she even stopped him from hugging her and walked away. So that's how much heat Kofi is getting now, that his own mother is not approving of his actions. So I thought that was a nice little quick segment that worked. Um, Eventually, they went backstage, and Rey Mysterio caught up with them and said, "Hey, if you guys just apologize to the locker room, everything like we'll forget about this. We know what kind of guys you are. We'll chalk this up as a mistake." But they refused to do any of that. Um, See any quick thoughts on that brief segment?
No, not really. You know, I wonder how long they're gonna like, you know, do this every week because at some point we need to start seeing these dudes back in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
having some matches, have a feud with somebody, you know. So you gotta, like I said before, when this first happened, I'm like, what is the end game? Where do you want to take these two now that they're where you want to take these two now that they are full fledged heels now. Only time will tell. I'm sure they're more likely be in the Rumble. But
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, you know, I do want to see them get into that tag team title picture, back into the tag team title picture, at some point. So
Yeah, my guess is that this will probably happen one more week, with them just kind of walking around the locker room and still getting some heat from the crowd, and then probably the Netflix premiere is when they'll come back into the ring. That's kind of my prediction on that one. We then go to our next match, which is The Miz versus Dexter Lumis, which was set up by Karrion Kross last week, and what started out as a pretty like standard Miz match, and what I mean by that is him pretty much running away from Loomis the entire time, which not a bad thing. That's kind of his character right now, so I wasn't upset about that. But what upset me was once again the Final Testament came out and caused a disqualification and beat down Loomis, only for Loomis to pose in the middle of the ring, lights go out, Wyatt Six appear without Uncle Howdy, and chaos ensues. But I just didn't like how it ended with a disqualification. Like if the beatdown was after the match, that's fine. I think that could work. But they just had a disqualification last week, and now they're doing it again. That I feel like that's just lazy booking, in my opinion. Just going back to back weeks of disqualifications. But I will say the one cool spot, freaking Eric Rowan power bombed Nikki Cross onto the Final Testament. That was pretty sweet. So that kind of bumped the segment up for me. I was like, man, this is so stupid. Then I saw that move and I was like, okay, like you got me back a little bit there. I still didn't
yeah,
like it. I'm still not a fan, but
yeah,
but you got me.
yeah. I think with this, like I said, when this whole feud started between Wyatt Six and the Final Testament, I was like, we need a legit, like all out hardcore style match with these two groups. Like what Like it could be cinematic, you know, something like give us something, big time, at a pay per view between these two teams, um, where we can leave it saying like, man, this is some of the greatest, you know, television we've had in a long time, with a match magnitude. So, um, yeah, I just want to see another tag team match between these two groups, man. Just all out war this time around. No disqualifications, nothing like
Mhm.
that. We need it. I need pure chaos. Yeah, if they got to go to the NXT parking lot, shit, do something like that. Like, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree on that. Well, we then get to our main event, which is Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. Now, before Zayn heads out to the ring, you can see him taping up his back and kind of getting some care, to which Jey Uso comes into the locker room trying to convince Sammy, like, hey, you don't have to do this, let me do it. Of course, Sammy, in his typical underdog ways, is like, nah, I'll do it and everything. So we're looking at kind of the both characters of Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn really come to fruition. You got Sami Zayn who's hurt but is still trying to power through everything, and you got Drew McIntyre who is literally out for blood right now. This was a pretty solid match, but you can see props to Sami Zayn for really selling the back injury because as he had McIntyre lined up for his hula kick, he took off and just immediately grabbed his back and was wincing. And then that set up the Claymore, which McIntyre won 1, 2, 3. Then bragged to Sammy that you could hear on the mic on the ref mic saying, "You still have never beaten me, and you never will." And he proceeds to beat down Sami Zayn, only for Jey Uso to come out, make a save. Him and McIntyre brawl for a second, but then McIntyre just starts walking away. And then as soon as he does that, Solo, Jacob Fatu, and Tamatonga come out and attack Jey Uso, leaving him and Sami Zayn on the ground and them standing tall to end Monday Night Raw. So like I said, pretty solid match. Probably the best in ring of the night. So really the opening and closing segments were the only real bright spots for me for Monday Night Raw. Um, see, what did you think of our main event?
Um, I mean, at this point, it's almost like just a repeat. I mean, Drew just gonna keep kicking Sammy's ass each time. Like it seems like, and but in terms of the aftermath of the match, um, like I don't get the purpose of Solo and the new Bloodline coming out there to attack Jay and Sammy. I'm like worried about. I'm like y'all got bigger things to worry about on SmackDown. Like y'all
Mm-hmm.
got to worry about Roman. So like and Jimmy, like worry about that. And I'm like, why would they pop? Why are they popping up on Raw? Like
Yeah,
I'm like, well, hey, wait until January 6th, then y'all can pop back up. For the everybody gonna be in the packed house, in LA. Um, so yeah, just wait until then. Y'all ain't got to keep popping up, attacking the same folks every time. Like it's getting old at this point. So that's my thoughts on it.
yeah, and like I said at the beginning of this episode, this was just a very stale Monday Night Raw. Usually, you have some kind of holiday themed match
Mm-hmm.
on these go home shows before Christmas or Halloween or whatever. You didn't get any of that, which not complaining, but I think it would have been nice to have at least one of those, or at least a segment about it. But other than that, it was very lackluster. Yes, it was a double taping, and the crowd was almost non-existent for most of the night. Um, outside of Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn, and I would say the New Day and Seth Rollins' interview kind of really helped get the show from beginning to end, but everything in between was, yeah, it was bad. And it felt rushed for a taped show. Like the matches did not feel like they had time to breathe. It was just boom, boom, boom. And yeah, very lackluster. Honestly, I give it a D for this Monday night. I did not like.
Was there anything that happened with Seth and Punk by chance or no?
No, all it was Seth Rollins did a sit down interview.
Okay.
And that was it. And he basically did what he said last week when he talked to Punk. So it wasn't really
Nothing. Okay.
It was just nice to get like they were doing the same thing that Punk did with his sit down interview
Okay.
and doing it for Seth and just kind of building that rivalry, that match that we're all really excited for.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, what did you think, C, of this episode?
I'll give it just solely because of the opening and closing segments. I give it a C plus. Yeah.
Yeah, you're more lenient than I am because
my thing is like if you want, like you don't want to have too many consecutive weeks of having good shows or good to great shows, and then January 6th, the big show ends up flopping. Like, so you don't want to at risk. So like you want to like kind of like not. I think Triple H is not throwing all his giving us all the goods yet because he's saving everything for January 6th. So so everything that's leading up to that was pretty much just stepping stones to get to that point. So the tournament, all that other jazz, and then different promos, you know, helping sell and build these feuds leading up to the big matches. That's pretty much all where we're at right now with that. So you don't want to go all out yet, you know, until that night. So.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes total sense. Just from a standard point, I still, on what we've seen with Monday Night Raw, though, I still was not a fan of it. But I understand your points, though. You do make some really good points about that. All right, folks. So that's going to wrap it up for another episode of Monday Night Raw Dog, the recap show for Monday Night Raw here on the We Book It podcast. And please, if you are listening, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our content. If this is your first time listening, we have tons of social media platforms. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter, X. We are on Facebook. We are on so many other social media pages. So please like us, follow us, do what you can to support our page, and we will keep repping out new content for all of our subscribers. For Big Daddy C, I am Coach. Thank you to Virgil producing tonight from his home in good old Petersburg, Illinois. We are out and have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Peace, y'all.